This business is not sponsored by or affiliated with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs or your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs or any other federally chartered veterans service organization. Other organizations, including but not limited to your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, a local veteran service organization, and other federally chartered veteran service organizations provide this service free of charge. You may qualify for other veterans benefit services outside the scope of what this business offers. All disability claims for increased ratings are processed by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. This business cannot expedite the processing of your claim by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, veterans. I'm Coach Sandra. Just wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us today. I appreciate you being here. I am here today with Coach Ben, so we'll be hosting this live with you today. We'll get started here very shortly, but before we get started, if you don't mind, if you want to sound off in the comments, let us know where you're from, what military branch you were in, and also today's topic is question and answer. So if you want to start by putting some questions in the comments, we'll get to that very shortly. And again, welcome. Happy to be here with you today, and Coach Ben as well. How are you today?
Doing great, Coach Sandra. Happy to be here as well and get rolling on those questions. So again, like Coach Sandra said, go ahead and get started putting those questions in the chat.
All right. And I'm not sure if my sound was on, but again, I just wanted to say happy Wednesday, veterans, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you today. Our topic today is literally just question and answer. So the claims process definitely could be a taxing or frustrating process. A lot of questions that we receive daily as well from our veterans. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask, please go ahead and start putting your questions in the comments. We'll get to there very shortly. And if you want to say hi or where you're from, what military, what branch you were in the military, how many years you served, if you have a coach and you want to shout out to them, you're more than welcome to do that. But Ben, if you wanted to start off just telling us a little bit about yourself, you're welcome to.
Yeah, sure. Welcome, everybody. And I am Coach Ben. You can see that link there if through the presentation you feel like you would want to work with either of us. Those links will be there for you. So I'm a West Texas guy and come to VA Claims Insider and like working here because I love solving problems and being part of veterans bettering their lives, getting to what they have earned and deserved. So it's just a real blessing to be a part of that journey. What about you, Coach Sandra?
Yeah, same. Been here with this wonderful company, VA Claims Insider, for 6 years now. It's a wonderful place to be day in and day out. Honestly, working with veterans, it's just a huge, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just absolutely wonderful. So I grew up overseas. My father was in the Air Force 23 years. So, we did a lot of traveling overseas initially and following my father and his military career and retirement then. And then I spent some time in Italy after his retirement and then moved to the US. And then, and here I am now, but always a pleasure. I did want to give you guys a little bit of information about our program. It's called the Elite Program. So I just wanted to give you a little feel if you're not on board with us as of yet. As you know, Coach Ben and I are coaches. What we do is we meet with veterans and we educate the veterans who come on board with us. We initiate that with a strategy call. So we get together, we talk about strategy, what is the best path moving forward through the claims process. We educate you throughout that process. You do have one-on-one coaching, so you have the coach, whoever coach that you decide or you're assigned to, you have availability to that coach when you need. Again, we do a strategy session with you to determine what is the best path what do you qualify for through the VA disability process. We also talk about CMP exam education. CMP stands for compensation and pension exams. Those exams usually come after you submit a claim, right? So the VA sends you to an exam, so we educate you on the claim submission and then also support you prior to those exams that you would be going to. Great also resource that you would have for yourself through this program is live classes. We hold live classes pretty much every day through Teams. We have about 3 per day. And one of the most, I guess the most fun, right, Ben, is the coffee with the coaches. So every morning, many veterans who are on, in the program with us will meet for about an hour with our coffee in the morning. We talk about the claims process. We talk about, success stories. And it's just a way to get together before you start your day with your brothers and sisters. We offer mental health exam education classes. So prior to those exams, you have the ability to meet in a setting, in a live class. And we talk about, the mental health exam education process, and then also medical claims. So anything other than mental health, we also offer classes which are also live as well. So lots of resources, lots of education, one-on-one coaching for you. That's our program. There's so much more, but we'll go into that later. But if you have any questions, of course, please put them in the comments and we'll definitely address those shortly. And I did want to mention, if your question is not addressed today, because there are many, they will be addressed after the today's live. So don't fear, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's a great high-level overview of the ELITE program here at VA Claims Insider. And as Coach Sandra said, that's scratching the surface, really, of what comes along with the ELITE program. And if you do want to learn more about that, you can schedule a discovery call, talk to one of our team members by going to VA Claims Insider. There's a phone number right across the top of that page, makes it easy for you. So go out to that website, reach out to our organization. We would love to hear from you and partner with you on your VA claim journey. So we'll get started here now with the Q&A. And I see one in there from Keel Haulers asking if the VA has started their new tinnitus rating system yet. So that is still potential in the future. As you've seen there, the rating that you received is still the default at the moment. So you'll see information from that from the VA on different conditions and potential future changes all the time.
Exactly. And there's another question here from Craig. And it says, I just won my higher review and I was told I got a duty to assist. Does that mean the original denial will be reversed? Well, Craig, not necessarily. So after your higher level review, and I'm not sure if you actually spoke to the senior adjudicator or not, but after that review, they close that higher level review and you receive a decision letter in the mail, which is usually 2 weeks after that, right? In that decision letter, they will mention that they are, or that they found an error and they are doing their duty to assist you, right? So it doesn't mean specifically that the claim was awarded or not. It means that they did see that there was an error, throughout the process, and they are going to do their duty to assist you. So if you go through that decision letter, usually on page 6 or 7, I'm not really sure, but the title is Reason for Decision. And if you look below that, there is a paragraph. And in that small little paragraph, it will indicate what steps they're going to take in order to, let's say, rectify that error, right? Usually they'll say, we failed to get a medical opinion, or it will say, we failed to get a CMP examination. So if that's the case, more than likely someone will be reaching out to you to either schedule you for an exam, or they'll send out all your information to a reviewer, medical examiner to review, and then they'll make their decision. So I usually tell my veterans, keep an eye out on va.gov for any updates, and your email if one of their VA providers reaches out to you for an exam if needed. But I would just wait for that decision. It's not necessarily decided on yet. But hang in there and good luck.
And then I see a question in there from Francisco. I heard you could try to fill a claim for neck pain related to a lower back service-connected condition. Is that true? So generally speaking, yes, if your medical evidence supports it, it gets down to strong medical evidence. And if it makes sense, right? Conditions can travel upward on the body. So it depends what area of the neck, what area of the back, and what your doctors say, what your medical evidence supports there. So strong medical evidence, and that's part of what coaches here at VA Claims Insider do, is a specific analysis on the documentation that you have, how it supports your claims, and how to go about pursuing those in the most effective and efficient manner.
All right, thank you, Ben. Crystal, I live in Kentucky and I've been working on a claim for over a year. I've been stuck on step, we are correcting an error since September 17. Why do my claims take so much longer than my friends who live elsewhere? That's a great question, Crystal. September, and I assume this year, we're only 2 months in, right? And so depending on what type of claim it is, and I'm not sure, but maybe it's an appeal. The VA states it can take up to 4 months before you actually get a decision. What I tell my veterans usually, if they feel that it's taking too long, is just give the VA a phone call. I'm not sure if you have the number, but it's 800-827-1000. So 800-827-1000. And just say, hey, my claim has been stuck in this spot for this amount of time. Can you give me some insight? Can you give me a status update? Is there anything that you need from me? And see what they say. And they'll get back to you, obviously, with some information as to the status of that claim. As far as, your friends' claims are taking less time, it all depends. Each veteran is different. Each veteran has different types of submissions, different conditions that they're suffering from. One, may be a lot easier than another one. Sometimes a veteran can submit 7 to 10 different conditions at a time, which can delay that process because now the VA those raters have to go through a lot more. So it all depends. I wouldn't compare with others, but definitely call the VA to see if they can give you some answers and some updates on your claim.
I see a question in here from Brian saying a decision letter was received stating no new evidence, right? So it's about an ongoing migraine claim secondary to tinnitus. And in the claim, added PTSD with tinnitus along with the migraines. And the reason there, why would they say no new or relevant information added, and statement there that there was a new nexus letter and disability benefits questionnaire, that's DBQ, from Telemedica with the new PTSD condition added. So what the VA is commenting on there is specific to condition. So when you get a denial letter, like Coach Sonder was saying, there's a page about halfway through that details what the VA looked at, what they evaluated, and why they made their decision, the rationale behind it. So to come back on a supplemental claim on a specific condition, you would need new and relevant medical evidence that addresses what the VA didn't see when they were making that decision, why they decided against it. And then the mention on Telemedica, for those that aren't aware, that is an independent company. They're administrative services company that connects clients with medical professionals, so a preferred provider network. And they do have significantly discounted rates for our elite program members. And we do see a higher success rate for veterans that use them for medical evidence as well. So that is that company that Brian is referring to there.
All right, perfect. Walter, I filed a claim on the 16th of October for TDIU through a VSO, and today I got a letter from the VA asking for forms 4142, I'm sorry, and 4142A, which were already sent on October 16th. Again, my suggestion is call the VA, and if you indeed were, uploaded those documents for them, just a quick call to that 800 number, 827-1000, to just ask them, hey, did you guys receive my forms? Sometimes you upload your documents and maybe you didn't do it correctly, or maybe they didn't receive it, but it's always good to follow up on any submission, be it an appeal, a new claim. Just call the VA, hey, I submitted this claim. Did you guys receive it? It's always good to follow up with them. But in the event that they did not receive it, Walter, then, you obviously can just re-upload your documents to them. The 4142, if not sure, you're basically giving permission to the VA to connect with your private providers to obtain medical evidence. Sometimes if a veteran does not have any medical evidence through a private provider, you can override that 4142, right? If you don't have any, just move forward. Then I don't have anything in my private records to support this claim. So you can do that as well if you don't. But if you do indeed have medical evidence to support that claim, then you definitely can either obtain your medical evidence from your private doctor, or you can give the VA the option to do that for you. If you gather it for them, it's a lot quicker than the VA gathering it for you. Just a little hint there. But yeah, and good luck with that.
And I see here, Steve, you asked, since I'm from West Texas, if I'm in the Lubbock area. Well, used to was, if we're using West Texasisms. So I've spent a lot of time stomping around in Palo Duro Canyon back in the day, but I'm not a Red Raider. I'm an Aggie, but yeah, definitely a lot of time out in West Texas. And those that aren't from there don't understand. You can see the curvature of the horizon. It is so flat. So good area to be from. And then I'll pick up also from Patrina. How can you request to speak to a decision review officer about your claim, and why are VA doctors reluctant to fill out DBQs? So two-step question there. When you do get a denial on a claim, whether that is a new claim, an increased claim, or a supplemental where you brought new and relevant evidence, if that is either a denial or a decision where you feel like you were underrated, that's when you have the option to put in, as long as it's within a year, what's called a higher level review. And through that process, there is an option in there where it asks you if you are wanting to request what's called an informal conference. And that is that opportunity to speak to that decision maker. And then as far as why VA doctors are reluctant to fill out the DBQs, myriad of reasons. The most common is simply that generally they might see it as a conflict of interest. So it's just not something that in standard practice you would see them willing to do. So you can go and get those from any source that's willing to provide them. As we stated, Telemedic is one of those options. That's a good one, but including going to your primary care provider if they're willing to. So a lot of times primary care providers may or may not have even heard of those before as far as Nexus letters and DBQs go. But those documents for almost all conditions, with a few specialized exceptions, the VA puts available out there. So anywhere that you choose for your claim to fill that out, that's a medical professional and willing to do it, you could pursue.
All right, I have a good one here, Bruce. Hi, Bruce. So Bruce says, I worked with Coach Sandra for 3 years or so. I got 100% permanent in total last month. The education and guidance is great. I had other conditions, but ended up being rated at 100% for my primary. Yay. Hi, Bruce. Congrats again. Miss talking to you, but yes, Bruce and I worked together for quite some time. Went through the claims process, educated him through this whole process, and he ended up just recently receiving his 100% permanent total disability. So great win. Thank you for the shout out, Bruce. I appreciate you. There is actually a question in here from Steve Lee. It says, I'm currently at 0% disability. I've filed, but no responses. Is this program free? So, not sure where you are in the process, Steve, but just like Bruce said, go ahead and, if you haven't yet, schedule a discovery call with us. There, we'll have that link there on the screen shortly. But go ahead and schedule a discovery call, and we'll give you all the information on how the program works, what the elite membership means, what you would have, with a coach, and so on. So yeah, book that discovery call, or if you want to connect with me, my link will be on the screen here shortly as well, or with Coach Ben, either of us, and we'll be more than happy to connect with you and go from there.
I see a question in here from Jesse. So common, I too have tinnitus, and then a claim was filed for insomnia secondary to tinnitus. And the VA communicated back that insomnia is a symptom rather than a separate mental condition. And how do you refute the symptom to be rated separately as a mental condition? So, as we discussed earlier, sometimes things with the VA change. It's a fluid organization. Sometimes they'll announce potential future changes, and there have been changes in the past. So, insomnia is one of those that did change. It used to be a rateable condition and no longer is. It is seen as a symptom of other conditions. And since the mention here specifically is mental conditions, that is where a diagnosis of a rateable mental health condition would be needed there. And in that category, the VA doesn't distinguish between those diagnoses as long as it is there and they deem it to be connectable to service. But that's why insomnia was treated that way, is it's just not one of the rated symptoms itself. It is in fact what they said, or rather, it's not a rated condition. It is, in fact, what they said as a symptom of other conditions.
Perfect. A couple questions because they're pretty quick. Linda, and I just lost it. It was something related to, it was here, Linda, something related to upgrading your discharge. There it is. Any experience assistance with upgrade discharges? So we don't, if you will, coach through that process. But if there is a veteran who has a discharge other than honorable, you do and you can go through a upgrade process with the VA. I'm pretty sure you have to fill out a form which is called the DD-293, I believe it is. And you can get more information on va.gov on what you need to do, how to fill out those forms, and what the VA requires from you to be considered for an upgrade on a discharge. So that was that one. And then there was a question from Silly Goose. I love that. Silly Goose. That's what I used to call my daughter. Still do. How much weight does a report from a licensed vocational expert carry in a TDIU claim? So with TDIU claims, I would say the focus would be medical evidence, right? You're telling the VA that you are no longer employable or unable to gain employment due to your service-connected disabilities. So the thing that you wanted to focus the most on would be medical evidence. So if you have any private doctors or any doctors that can attest or can state that in their opinion, due to your service-connected disability, you cannot gain employment, that is what is going to really help with that claim. If you go to the VA, obviously, medical records, but medical evidence in general does win claims. And we talk about that a lot here at VA Claims Insider. Medical evidence is truly, truly vital through this process, because the more evidence you have, the less room you give the VA to deny your claim, right? And so for the TDIU, I would say, yeah, it won't hurt if you have a licensed vocational expert writing something for you, but the medical evidence is what is key.
And from John asking about if an onset of disability date can be changed if you were diagnosed 3 years earlier from civilian doctors with what was approved at a C&P exam to be 100%, and that evidence for the earlier diagnosis is already included in that decision file. So there's a couple of aspects to this, and a few of them are important. So just detailing what that question sort of breaks down to for all of you is that the date of a rating decision is not always the same as the date of the award related to a rated condition. Sometimes the VA will backdate it and then go back and pay for that previous time based on whatever they choose. Could be file date, diagnosis date, whatever is chosen in that decision. So depending on how long ago that decision was, your options are different. If it was within 12 months of that decision, it is possible to go through the HLR process, higher level review, and the award date is something that can be challenged in that respect to the decision maker there. Past that, the most common option still would be a supplemental claim, but you would have to have that new and relevant evidence showing that. The most important thing to take in consideration here, though, is the fact that 100% was mentioned, and being aware that anytime you come back with an appeal of any kind, whether that's higher level review, supplemental, in certain specialized conditions, if you request a review for a clear and unmistakable error, anything you do to reopen that topic allows the VA to potentially review the entire decision, which could mean service connection, percent rating. So that is one of those things to be aware of when making decisions of that nature.
All right. Papa P65, do one claim at a time or shotgun them all at once if medical diagnosis exists. So here at VA Claims Insider, we do claims simply, right? We have our veterans submit their claims in a simple manner, if you will, instead of sending in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, however many claims at once. We usually look at maybe 1 or 2, and there's a couple reasons for that. When you submit 10, 5, 10, 15 different claims at once, now you have all this documentation that you're sending over to the VA for consideration, and that's going to take them a long time, right, to go through each and every condition, each and every claim, reviewing it, the C&P exams, the decisions. So that process can take a lot longer rather than if you're submitting 1 or 2 claims, which will take a lot less time, right? So 1 or 2 at a time is what I suggest. The process will be a lot less, a lot less long, if you will. Also, you mentioned all at once if you have a medical diagnosis. Now, although a medical diagnosis is absolutely needed for any claim that you submit, that's not the only thing you need when you submit a claim. You also have to prove to the VA that the diagnosis for the condition you're submitting is related to service or aggravated by service. So you have to establish the service connection. So do you have medical evidence when you were active duty that that condition occurred or that injury occurred, that diagnosis that you have? Or you can also think about a nexus letter. I believe Coach Ben mentioned that a little bit earlier, meaning a medical document which establishes the link between a service-connected disability and another condition. So you'll also need a nexus, meaning that medical evidence to prove that there is a correlation between one condition and another. So it's I know it's a little bit of a broad question, but not and for all of you, not only the medical diagnosis is needed, there are other factors that are obviously needed when you submit your claim. And again, if you want to learn more about our company, what we do, how we coach our veterans, our resources and more, you can always schedule a discovery call, and we'll be more than happy to give you a little bit more of information on that. Yeah.
Okay, and then question here from Keel Haulers saying a rating decision was received Monday and would like to file a supplemental against the tinnitus for migraines, right? So the real question there is asking, should you put in an intent to file claim immediately or wait a while? So it is always to your benefit to put in an intent to file at the earliest time available is the short answer to that. It is not always, but it is one of the dates that the VA does sometimes use when they're backdating decisions. So that is in general what you would want to do there in every instance. And then also, as far as what that decision was, just also be aware that there are those two different options based on if you're bringing new and relevant medical evidence or if it was not an HLR decision, that is possible as well based on your individual situation.
All right. Kenny Almas, I have my second sleep apnea test this evening. I guess this is for them to fit me for the sleep apnea or the CPAP machine, probably. My question is that with this, will I get a disability for it? So again, let's think about it, right? You're getting fitted for sleep apnea this evening. We're in 2025. Were you in service or are you in the service? Are you active? So keep in mind, the VA will entertain claims from veterans that are related to active duty service, right? Service related to your service time. Sleep apnea, even though you may be diagnosed with it, let's say last month or last year or today, if that is not diagnosed during your service period, then more than likely they're going to deny your claim because it's not related to service. However, if you are service connected with other conditions that can cause sleep apnea, then that would be, you could submit a claim as a secondary. And of course, I'm not sure what your background is or what you are currently service connected for, but if you do have other conditions that are service connected, you can submit a claim for sleep apnea with a diagnosis. And again, that nexus statement that medical document to connect your sleep apnea to another service connected disability. Hope that helps.
And rolling right along on that same topic, there's a couple of other sleep apnea questions, which are common, right? It is a common question from veterans. From Jesse, they're submitting multiple times with Nexus letters from ENT physicians and disability benefits questionnaires and the CNP exams for sleep apnea, secondary to rhinitis and sinusitis, and it was denied. So keep in mind, and then there's another question down there, is sleep apnea still a rated condition? And that answer is yes. And then coming at this with the Nexus letters and the DBQs, as Coach Sandra just mentioned, is the strongest way to come at any claim. And it puts you in position to have options going forward, depending on your particular situation as far as what might make the most sense to you. Is where if you wanted to discuss that specifically and what evidence you might need to be able to address that, again, that's where a discovery call is a great idea, to get in touch with a coach and look at exactly what your evidence supports or what evidence you would need to come back, just like Coach Sonder was just mentioning, and keep that claim as effective and efficient as possible.
All right, David Bryant, I've been trying to get to 100% since 2011. I've been through the DAV. I went to every appointment. I was told to attend for review. I've given up and now have an outside attorney who will be charging me $7,000 if I get approved. Is there anyone else that could help without taking so much money? There are many options, out there. Of course, you've gone to the DAV already, but you can also connect with a veteran service officer, which is a VSO, VFW. You just have to do a little bit of search and see who else out there is accredited or to help with your claims process. You can also schedule a discovery call with us. You would talk to someone, give them the background, what you are service connected for, what where you are in the process, and to see if coming on board with VA Claims Insider is an option as well. We would love to have you. Again, that discovery call, you can schedule it, or you always can reach out to our organization at vaclaimsinsider.com. That is our website, vaclaimsinsider.com. We'd love to partner with you on this journey. So if you're interested, David, just connect with us. If you'd like to speak to me, more than welcome to, or Coach Ben as well. We're here truly for our veterans, and we'll give you a little bit more information on that process. So yeah, schedule a call.
And I see from Deacon Bill here, this is another common question that hits on several important points. What is it? You have no VA medical records for PTSD, but you have your family who can give statements, and you've even written a book that documents you actively and discusses your PTSD, and 58 years later from Vietnam. So the first important part here to address is it's not too late, right? If you have things going on that could be service connected, it's never too late to start addressing those with the VA. Secondary point here, and this is what you would get if you go through the discovery call process and get with a coach, is specifics to your situation, based on the documentation that you have that can support different things. But it is a good question because it highlights the difference between medical diagnosis and what rises to the level of VA disability connectability, right? As far as what caused it, when, and when treatment was. That type of thing is exactly what a coach would look at as far as causes of things, because while a treatment provider may come at it from a certain angle, then it might need to have different information for the VA to be able to connect it as caused by service. So.
All right, Fred, if you are denied for a claim for specific cause of a condition, can you refile for that same condition with another cause? You can, right? If you truly believe that that condition is also caused by another condition, you can refile. You would appeal, obviously, with new and relevant evidence to provide to the VA to now submit that claim to be looked at, if you will, for a different decision. Medical evidence is truly key here. So you must have that medical evidence indicating that this condition is caused by your service-connected disability, right? So the correlation between one and the other. But yes, you can appeal it. You would do a supplemental claim That's form 210995. You can also submit that on va.gov, your appeals. But yes, you would do a supplemental, meaning here's my new and relevant evidence for you to reconsider the condition that I previously was denied for.
And question in here from TB9340. So mental health claim was denied 1 day after CNP exam. And that is something that sometimes happens, right? As Coach Sandra has discussed earlier, the VA is an organization made up of humans and as such is variable and fairly unpredictable as far as timing of decisions. So in here states that there were documents in support not listed as part of the decision on the decision letter, and the examiner didn't ask about stressors. So this type of thing is when you come through VA Claims Insider and get specific coaching based on what your documents say, what they're supporting, what that potential connection is, an identifiable stressor. Your specific situation may be different, but in this case, where you say you filed an HLR, you did the right thing, right? There's something in that decision that you're disagreeing with. In this case, sounds like the connection and then potentially the rating also, and those are the things that the HLR potentially could address. It goes to a new, more experienced decision maker. And one of the things that they can do is start from scratch on the file and look at everything to see if a different decision should have been made in their opinion.
All right, let's see. How can I get, Mike Hanlon, how can I get copies of my CMP exam? That's a great question because many veterans want to see after your CMP exam, what is that, what did that examiner put in my file? What did they annotate on that disability benefits questionnaire? So yes, you can request the copies of your CMP exam. You would have to submit a FOIA request. That means Freedom of Information Act. The form is 20-10206. And you just submit that to the VA, and then eventually you will receive your CMP examiner notes, the copies of those exams. However, it can take a little bit of time, right? I've seen some of my veterans requesting that documentation. Some I've seen within 4 months, others 6 months, a little bit more. So it all depends on the velocity of the VA in getting those documents to you, but you can definitely request them. Something also to keep in mind is that if your CMP exam is conducted at a VA medical center, so not through a provider like QTC or OptumServe or VES, if it's conducted at the VA, you actually can obtain and see the CMP examiner's notes in your VA health records, in your blue button report. They're usually available to review within a month after your CMP exam. So if any of you actually went to the VA for your exam, look at your VA health records to see the results in there. Otherwise, you will have to fill out that FOIA form and then just wait for the VA to provide you that documentation. But you can definitely request it.
And there's a very good question in here from Brian Smith that many of you may be wondering. So it says, can I talk to a counselor prior to signing the agreement? So that discovery call is there for you specifically as a veteran to ask questions about the general program, what to expect, what the contract is, details like that. And then as far as specific to situation, if you join the program, that's what a coach would be there for as far as putting together game plan and strategy. But for sure on that discovery call, clarifying anything that you're wanting to know about the elite program, what you could expect from it in general, how to maximize it. As long as you're not getting into situation specific, that's what a coach would be for later on to educate you on how to maximize in your position specifically. And then right below that from Anna, do veterans need to file intent for appeal? So earlier, as Coach Sandra and I were talking about, the intent to file is letting the VA know that you will be filing a something claim. So a new claim, an increased claim, or when bringing new and relevant medical evidence on a previous denial, a supplemental claim. So those three things are when an intent to file is appropriate. For an appeal that is a supplemental, then that answer is yes. The other type of appeal, a higher level review, the answer is no, because it is specifically appealing the decision that was made within the past 12 months on a denial. And so it would still have whatever date the VA picked out from that denied claim as the effective date if they chose to use it. So hopefully that makes that clear. So in every instance that is not a higher level review, the answer is yes. And you can do that either through va.gov, or you can call that hotline Coach Sandra mentioned earlier, that 800-827-1000.
Very important, that intent to file. James Lindsay Waldron, I filed for tinnitus and major depression. I was awarded for tinnitus, but denied for mental health. I hired an attorney and appealed the decision for depression, provided all the medical information that I could, and was denied again. The reason was no evidence of my military health record, specifically identifying any mental health issues. I'm past the 1 year from the appeal. Any advice? You can always appeal, doesn't matter. And this is for all claims. If you're denied today, hypothetically, not you specifically, but anyone, let's say you're denied a claim today, you can always appeal that claim. If you appeal it within the year, you may be eligible for back pay. That's that intent to file that we were talking about just earlier, right? That Coach Ben was. If it goes above the year and you don't appeal within the year, you still can appeal the claim. It just, you may miss out on that back pay that you may have been owed within that year, but you still can definitely appeal your claim. I have veterans who come on board that were denied 7 years ago, 5 years ago for other, for specific conditions, and they appeal and they, go through that process. So you can. But to answer your question, I'm not sure what medical evidence you had, James. However, you have to establish the nexus. The nexus is the link. It's a fancy word for link or connection, right? So a psychologist needs to determine or needs to provide an opinion and state, in my opinion, James' depressive disorder is caused by service, and here's the reasons why. So you need a medical document establishing the link between your mental health diagnosis and service and your time in service, right? Without that link, it's going to be the path of resistance with the VA. You have to prove to them that a board certified psychologist is stating that, yes, in my opinion, James' depressive disorder is indeed related to service. So that might be the missing link. Those decision letters for all of you that are here today truly speak to what the VA needs from you. So if you read those decision letters thoroughly, you'll find the reason why you were denied. They'll specify the reason we did not service connect this is because such and such and such. So when you identify the reason for that denial, then now you know what you need to appeal your claim to the VA. So you gather that evidence and provide that to the VA to appeal it. And stay strong. This process is not, an easy process. As I mentioned earlier, it can be frustrating. I've had veterans who are like, I'm done. It's too much. But just stay in the fight. You truly deserve this. Be tenacious. Get that medical evidence that you truly need to support your claims. connect with us if you have, any questions. Get into that discovery call. But, I had a veteran who submitted his claim for 4 or 5 appeals before he actually was awarded. So keep reading those decision letters. What is missing? Provided to the VA each time. Appeal and hang in there. And hopefully you'll get a different result, James. And good luck.
And I see Fred here asking a straightforward question. Do you have to request a CNP, a compensation and pension exam, or is it automatic when you file a claim? So sort of 2 questions in there, and both of them spin off of a lot of the things that Coach Sandra was just talking about. So the simple answer is no, that whether or not you have one is up to the rater on that particular claim. Now, the extension of that is, in general, always expect one. And the details extended from that is, you heard Coach Sandra mention multiple times the words medical evidence, right? Coach Sandra was just talking about a nexus letter, a disability benefits questionnaire. Earlier, you heard us refer to that independent company, Telemedica, that is a wonderful option for providing those. So the stronger your medical evidence that you bring that supports your particular claim, then there are slight and in general increasing chances that you might have a decision maker make a decision based off of that strong medical evidence that you have, and not need a CNP exam. And then the in between, sometimes you'll get what is called an acceptable clinical evidence exam, an ACE. And that is when the rater and the VA are saying that you have brought exactly what the name of that exam is, acceptable clinical evidence. And in most cases, what you would receive then is basically a verification call, a quick phone interview, going back through your evidence and just making sure that it's double checked from their point of view, so that what they feel is an accurate decision can be made based upon it.
Okay, Terry Marshall. If I'm diagnosed with major depression or major depressive disorder in 2014, can I do a secondary to chronic sinusitis, or do I have to wait until my sleep apnea is filed, right? So when you're submitting a claim for mental health as a secondary to another condition that is service-connected, if you truly believe that, let's say your sinusitis, the chronic sinusitis, is causing you depression because you're constantly dealing with the chronic pain of sinus issues or taking antibiotics all the time. I've had sinusitis, the pain in everywhere. If you truly believe that that condition is causing depression or anxiety, you can submit a claim for mental health secondary to an already service-connected disability. You must have that nexus letter. You must have the medical evidence to prove that your depression is caused by a service-connected disability, be it the sinusitis or any other condition. We call those lifestyle impact claims. Not easy to say, right? And what that means is that your life is being impacted by your service-connected disability in a negative manner. And those conditions, chronic pain, sinusitis, constant headaches, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, all those conditions in some veterans can prove to cause a mental health condition such as depression or anxiety and so on. So if you truly believe that your sinus and your chronic sinusitis is causing you that grief and depression, you can. You need that medical evidence to correlate one to the other. But yeah, that is something that the VA definitely will consider. And even if you were diagnosed in 2014, you still can submit it. You must have a current diagnosis for mental health. 2014 was quite some time ago. VA will require a recent diagnosis for the conditions you submit for.
Looks like we probably have time for about one more question here before we wrap up. And this one from Lorewolf 5702. What does presumptive in regards to cancer and 100% PNT, and can that be taken away? So the part of that question that is some of you may be wondering about, and that's a common worry, is once you get to 100%, can it change? Can it go away in the future? And that's depends, right? When you are 100% PNT, that means permanent and total. That is what veterans that do have enough medical things going on that can be connected is the common goal. And very rarely is the answer to that question. Once the VA rates you as permanent and total, that is because they do not anticipate conditions to improve. Is it within the realm of possibility? Yes, but it's rare. Now, as far as cancer in general, right, as a standalone there, if it's active, you can receive that higher rating, and then once it goes into remission, if it does, then the VA will come back and rate based on what they call residuals. So that's as a standalone from the permanent and total question, but those are two things to keep in mind in those scenarios.
I think we have a little bit. We have about 4 more minutes. So again, I just wanted to let you know that if your question was not addressed, they will be answered after this live. Okay, so hang tight. I know there's many questions here. Elaine, hi, I am service connected for my lumbar and thoracic for a broken vertebrae. I had a C&P exam for my cervical. My examiner just said I had a sore neck, and I was denied even with a strong nexus letter. My cervical got so bad that within 8 months, I've had surgery with 3 cervical fused. Should I pursue this further? Wow, I'm sorry going through that, Elaine. I would definitely pursue that, especially since that sounds pretty severe. Sometimes C&P exams can be bad C&P exams. You want to make sure that you're very thorough when you're there, excuse me, that you're addressing what your symptoms are, how those symptoms negatively impact your life, both socially and occupationally. So make sure that they're taking down as much information as possible during that exam. And specifically, they're also going to look at limitation of range of motion. And that's how the VA decides and rates musculoskeletal conditions. So they're going to, have you turn your neck up, down, left, and right. So something to keep in mind, if that truly hurts when when you're doing those maneuvers, make sure that you stop when you feel the pain. It is very important. Don't have them overextended, but I would definitely say it's worth pursuing, going for an increase, gather new and relevant evidence, and submit it to the VA to be reevaluated. And good luck to you as well. We have a couple more minutes here. Ben, Coach.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to address one quick question there from Mark Charbonneau that is important for everyone. Can you wait too long to file an intent to file? What do you do if it has been too long? Short answer, it hasn't been too long. Do it today. The sooner you do it, the better position you're putting yourself in. And then just a recap of everything we've talked about today about VA Claims Insider, what you can expect from the elite program: strategy, education, and medical evidence. That gap analysis on what you need, the coaching and education to build up your knowledge base, and the strategy on how to put in your claims in the most effective and efficient manner. One-on-one coaching all the way through the VA claims process, those live classes via Teams that Coach Sandra talked about. There's 3 live classes, 4 different opportunities during the week in different flavors. And then there is a book available online from a founder called VA Claim Secrets. You can find that on Amazon as a wonderful choice too. But go ahead and schedule that discovery call. right? If you want to learn more, you think this might be for you, you want the coaching, you want the education and evaluation of what to do next in your particular case, what's missing on that gap analysis that you need to pursue, get on that discovery call. Get a coach, whether it's Coach Sandra, Coach Ben, someone else, right? Get on there, get a coach, and that's how you get to moving forward in your process with VA Claims Insider.
Yeah, and just to remind you, our website is vaclaimsinsider.com. Go ahead and check us out, and you can lots of information on there as well. But yeah, it's been a pleasure being with you all today. Thank you so much for your service. I wish you truly all the best through this process. But again, if you do need coaching and you feel that you want to come on board with us, we'd love to have you. You have a wonderful remainder of your day and happy holidays coming up. Big hugs to you all, and thank you again for your service.